Hi guys, today I'll discuss a rare type of ancient jade relics. Half an inch tall, 2/3 of an inch wide, roughly the size of your thumbnail, and the thinnest parts of its walls are half a millimeter thick. Not half a centimeter, half a millimeter, as thin as a postage stamp. Carved from one of the hardest stones in the ancient world 5,000 years ago by people with no metal tools of any kind. If someone described this object to you without showing it, you might assume they were exaggerating. They're not. These artifacts exist. They have been excavated from Neolithic tombs in China, and the question of how Stone Age craftsmen achieved this level of precision in an object smaller than a coat button is one of the most remarkable puzzles in prehistoric archaeology. Today, we might be able to solve it. In the fertile plains of the lower Yangtze River, archaeologists have excavated over 1,200 Neolithic tombs belonging to the Lingjiatan culture, one of the three most prominent jade cultures of prehistoric China, flourishing roughly 5,500 years ago. Among the thousands of artifacts recovered, one particular type stands apart. Not because of its size, these objects are quite tiny. Not because of its abundance, they appear in only 8 of the 1,200 excavated tombs. But because these relics reveal extraordinary craftsmanship, incredible thinness, and an interesting location within each burial. These artifacts, at first glance, look exactly like the projecting bell of a trumpet or megaphone. A large flared opening on one side, tapering to a flat base pierced by a central hole. The flared cone shape appears almost purposely built to amplify and project sound outward. Except they are the size of a coat button, and clearly not a musical instrument. So, what were they? Here is where the archaeology gets intriguing. In every one of those 8 high-status burial sites, these pieces showed up in the same area, in pairs, positioned one on each side of the tomb occupant's head, precisely flanking the skull, one left, one right, exactly where ear ornaments would be. Archaeologists now believe that these objects were jade earrings, worn through ear piercings, the central hole at the base threading through the earlobe, the dramatic flared bell facing outward. Designer ear studs, perhaps, in the most literal sense, created for the Neolithic elite. And the elite designation is not casual here. These 8 burials that contain such earrings are the larger tombs with abundant offerings. In a culture that produced jade knives and bead discs in significant quantities, these trumpet-like earrings were never mass-produced. Each pair seems to have been individually commissioned and painstakingly crafted. Stone Age bespoke jewelry made for someone wealthy and powerful enough to demand it. To understand how the trumpet bell earring was made, you first need to understand where it came from, because it did not appear fully formed. It was the endpoint of a fascinating design evolution that unfolded over centuries. The earliest Neolithic ear ornaments were made from wood, bone, and clay, practical materials that shaped easily and forgave mistakes. When ancient craftsmen developed methods for working knife-like jade, everything changed. Jade's hardness, translucency, and lustrous surface made it immediately the most coveted prestige material in prehistoric China. Not just beautiful, but socially powerful, a visible declaration of status that cruder materials could never achieve. The first jade ear studs were solid and simple, green dumbbell-shaped pieces worn through a narrow central shaft at the ear piercing. dating to around 3800 to 3300 BC. Some were carved from translucent crystal, polished to a glassy finish. Exquisite in their simplicity, yet heavy for their size. Then came the mushroom style, a round spherical top, a slender cylindrical shaft, and a flat circular base. Milky white, semi-translucent, smooth, about the size of half a beer bottle cap. Charming objects, and significantly more refined than the earlier dumbbells, but still solid, dense, and heavy against the earlobes for extended wear. And thus, here is where the real engineering insight arrived. Someone, we don't know who, we don't know exactly when, realized that the inside of the mushroom earring did not need to exist. The piece required only the outer shell. So, craftsmen began hollowing them out, carefully removing the interior material to reduce weight while preserving the outer profile. From the outside, the hollowed mushroom looked identical to the solid ones. From the inside, it was a completely different technical achievement. Thin walls, reduced mass, dramatically improved variability. That inside, hollow the inside, preserve the outside, was the conceptual breakthrough that made the trumpet-like earring possible. The trumpet bell earring is the hollowing principle taken to its logical extreme. The signature flared shape reduces material even further than the mushroom form. The ultra-thin walls push the weight reduction as far as the material can physically tolerate. The central hole has functional versatility, additional ornaments, hanging beads, feathers, or flowers could be threaded through, turning a simple ear stud into a customizable statement piece. 5,000 years before the concept of fashion accessories, Neolithic Chinese had invented the luxury earring, a marvel of craftsmanship in any time period. Now for the question the entire narrative has been building towards. How do you physically create an object this small, this thin, and this precisely shaped in knife-right jade without a single metal tool? For all this time, the answer was sitting in a Lingjiatian tomb, waiting to be discovered. Among the artifacts recovered from the excavation site was an unusual dual-ended stone drill made from sandstone. It is 6.3 centimeters long, roughly the length of a standard house key, with two distinct working ends. One end features a slightly thicker bit with a flattened tip, approximately the diameter of a pencil-top eraser. The other end has a finer bit with a sharp pointed tip. Unremarkable at first sight, but examine the drill under magnification and two things became apparent. First, both drill bit ends show distinctive spiral and concentric wear patterns. In lithic use-wear analysis, the forensic study of microscopic traces left on stone tools, spiral and concentric wear patterns are considered diagnostic primary evidence of one specific motion, consistent, sustained rotary drilling. This tool was spun rapidly and repeatedly for extended periods against hard stone. Second, the central shaft of the drill bears several horizontal wear grooves running perpendicular to its length. These grooves were not made by the drilling motion itself. They were made by something wrapped around the shaft, a cord or rope, moving back and forth, creating friction marks at the point of contact over prolonged use. This drill was not operated by hand. It was the spindle and bit of a bow drill. The bow drill is one of humanity's oldest mechanical inventions, predating writing and agriculture, predating virtually every technology we associate with civilization. A cord wrapped around a central spindle, driven back and forth by a bow, converts linear motion into rotational energy, essentially the same mechanical principle that underlies every drill, lathe, and motor ever built since. Ancient Egyptian bow drills have been found with identical horizontal friction marks on their wooden spindles, matching the marks on the Lingjiatan stone drill. The comparison is not speculative. It's a direct physical parallel across two cultures separated by thousands of miles, both arriving at the same mechanical solution to the same engineering problem. But here is the detail that makes this specific drill genuinely unique. For trumpet bell earring production, it is not symmetrical. Look carefully at the Lingjiatan drill, you will notice something unusual. The two drill bit ends are aligned with each other, but both are offset from the center of the shaft body. The drill is deliberately lopsided. This is not a manufacturing defect. It is an engineering choice. When a drill bit rotates around an axis that is not perfectly centered on its cutting point, it does not drill a clean, straight cylinder. Instead, the off-center motion creates a flared, cone-shaped cavity that widens as it deepens, a bell mouth hole rather than a straight tube. The exact profile, in other words, of a trumpet bell-shaped jade earring. The Lingjiatan craftsmen did not carve the flared interior of these earrings by hand. They drilled it, using a deliberately offset stone bit driven by a bow drill with an abrasive slurry of hard mineral sand and water, delivering the actual cutting action against the knife-right surface. The drill bit's smaller diameter relative to the earring's opening is not a problem with this theory. It's a confirmation of it. A smaller offset bit produces a larger flared cavity precisely because the off-center rotation sweeps a wider arc than the bit itself occupies. And a slow drilling rate, typically 1 to 3 millimeters of depth per hour in hard knife-right, turns out to be another benefit rather than a limitation. That extraordinary slowness gave the craftsman complete control. At 1 to 3 millimeters per hour, the artisan could continuously monitor wall thickness, adjust the pressure and angle in real time, and stop the moment the material approached its minimum safe thickness. Any minor irregularities left by the drilling process were smoothed away in subsequent polishing stages. The half-millimeter walls of the trumpet bell earrings are not a result of reckless grinding to the edge of what is physically possible. They're the result of a precisely controlled, mechanically assisted process that gave the craftsman more accuracy, not less, by moving slowly enough to be constantly corrected. Stand back from the individual techniques for a moment and consider what the overall picture reveals. The Lingjiatan craftsmen who produced these earrings possessed a formal workshop system with designated production spaces and specialized tools for different stages of the manufacturing process. They understood knife-right material properties, its hardness, its fibrous fracture resistance, its behavior under abrasive grinding, well enough to work it to half a millimeter without catastrophic failure. They had utilized a mechanical drilling technology, the bow drill, capable of producing precise flared geometries in hard stone. And they embedded all this technical knowledge within a sophisticated social and aesthetic system in which the thinness, translucency, and miniaturization of jade jewelry directly communicated the owner's high status and the craftsman's mastery. This is neither primitive technology nor a lucky accident. This is well-developed, specialized, refined industrial tradition operating at the absolute limits of what the available materials and tools could physically achieve. Here is what truly deserves to sit with us after watching this. Of the 1,200 tombs excavated at Linjiatang culture sites, only 8 contained these earrings. 8. That's less than 1% of all burials. We know the craftsmen who made them had dedicated workshops, specialized tools, and multi-generational accumulated knowledge. We know the people who wore them were among the most powerful individuals in their society. But we do not know the names of a single craftsman who made them. We do not know how the knowledge was transmitted, whether it passed from parent to child, from master to apprentice, or died with the last person who possessed it. We do not know whether the 8 pairs we have found represent the total number ever made, or whether thousands more exist in tombs yet to be excavated, or tombs that were looted centuries ago, or tombs that dissolved back into the earth without leaving a trace. What we do know is this. Somewhere in Neolithic China, 5,000 years ago, a craftsman sat in a workshop smaller than your living room, picked up a stone drill the length of a house key, and began the weeks or months of patient, meticulous work that would produce an object barely the size of a coat button, with walls as thin as a stamp, for someone important enough to be buried with it, and prestigious enough to have commissioned it in the first place. That craftsman will remain nameless for the rest of time. Only 8 surviving objects, each one a testament to a level of skill and patience that most modern humans, with their power tools, precision instruments, and computer-aided manufacturing, might struggle to equal even today. Think about that the next time someone describes the Stone Age as primitive. If this investigation changes how you think about Neolithic craftsmanship, the Jade tube video linked above goes into another prehistoric Chinese artifact whose manufacturing mystery took decades of archaeology to unravel. If you have a Neolithic artifact or ancient mystery you want investigated, drop it in the comments. The next deep dive might be yours. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit like and subscribe. You can support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. I appreciate your support. This is Curious Being. I'm Tina. Thanks for watching and see you next time.